Hello, my friends. Today I want to talk about the TV show American Horror Stories, which is a companion to the series American Horror Story, which is made by Ryan Murphy and Dave Falkirk. And this is like a little sort of series that they did because of all of the pandemic-y stuff. So they weren't actually able to like do it like the show the way they normally would. So they did like these little anthology episodes instead, and it's just finished. And like this is gonna come out in probably weeks after weeks after it's actually finished, but this is when I'm recording. So me and my friend have been like on American Horror since the beginning. I'm a huge horror fan and aficionado, and I really like. I love American Horror, like, but it's not like. I feel so bad. Let's be honest. Half the time the plot doesn't make sense. Half the time, the first half of the season is like excellent, and they could have finished it there. and the last half of the season, it's like, why did you even bother? So I'm wondering if like double feature, they're actually going to play to that strength and do like, because normally it's like 8 or 10 episodes, depending on the season. So I'm wondering if they're going to do like double feature, like half of the season is one story and half of the season is a completely secondary story, kind of how like they were going for in Roanoke, but hopefully better, like, because like I love the first half of Roanoke, and the second half, oh my god, once it stopped being like the History Channel documentary, it became very stupid. Anyway, so American Horror Stories, these little like anthology episodes in the sort of Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, Friday the 13th, the series sort of style thing. I want to talk sort of through the episodes. So like the first two, it was like a two-parter, and it was Rubber Woman. And this was like going back to Murder House, and we had a couple of like legacy characters from like the first season, not with the original actors, such as in the case of like the actor who played the infant Hatter, who's Meep in Freak Show, because he's passed. And I'm pretty sure it's not the same nurse, but it might have been. I wasn't really paying attention, I'm sorry. But like, yeah, so it was more or less a fresh cast in Murder House, and the story was fine. Like I thought it was fine. There was a few things where I'm like, this defies all logic, but like on the whole, it was a pretty good story. Driving, the third episode, was where it started going wrong for me, because, right, so the plot of this episode is that a man has made a horror movie that's so vile that it literally turns people into sort of violent zombies in the manner of like Wes Craven's The Crazies. I'm just going to apologise if you can hear a dog barking in the background. This is a current problem I'm dealing with. So yeah, and in it's called Rabbit Rabbit in Universe, and they say it's called that because there's a British tradition to say Rabbit Rabbit on the first of every month. The problem is it's not actually to say Rabbit Rabbit. It's to say White Rabbit, White Rabbit. The white part, White Rabbit is also part of it. So that was not true. And I thought it was a waste of like Naomi Grossman, who I love, who was Pepper in Asylum and Freak Show, and has played other characters as well, but that was like her iconic one. And also Senator Kretak from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Waste of her. I love that actress. I can't remember her real name. She's always just, I see her and I'm like, it's Senator Kretak from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And like at first it was like, oh look, here's a character who is non-binary. Like they didn't actually say a specific label, so I don't want to like offend anyone. I'm just gonna say like somebody who's non-binary, and it's nice to have some non-binary representation. It's a shame they immediately turned the character into someone who is sexually promiscuous, which I suppose is the new all bisexuals are sexually promiscuous trope. Is this really what we're wanting to do, Ryan Murphy? Is this what you're really wanting to do? Is like representation? Is that your goal? Is it? Maybe we should rethink that next time, okay? So that episode was, well for me, I just kept saying like, it's a bit like The Crazies. That was sort of my opinion. It was a bit of a waste, and a bit of like, it's a bit like The Crazies, which is like, it's fine. It's not a favourite. It's fine. It's like Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street work. It's not quite as good, and you really kind of wish that Robert Englund was in it. But, you know. Then the next episode was The Naughty List, which we got so excited on the trailer because there was a bad Santa. And we were like, it's a bad Santa! Are they going to get Ian McShane back from Asylum, the character who I keep being thoroughly disappointed that isn't brought back, because like in Britain, right, Ian McShane became famous for doing this show called Lovejoy, and that was his character's name. His character's name was Lovejoy, and he was like a wheeler dealer, like romantic bastard, like antiques dealer, who went on adventures, and like he was like a lovable rogue character, and like this was like 20 years before Deadwood. I don't know when Deadwood came out, but he was already famous in the UK. Deadwood made him famous in the US, and of course he played the evil Santa in Asylum, which was absolutely amazing, and I was so disappointed to find out that it wasn't going to be Ian McShane, but it was Danny Trejo, who, like, we love Danny Trejo. Who doesn't love Danny Trejo? Like, everyone loves Danny Trejo. So he was excellent. It was cool seeing the kid from Glee doing like the Jake Paul brothers slash like Rice Gum and the Hype House, or like the Vine House, or just sort of like influencer Deuce Boys. That was like a fun episode, even if like some of the characters' decisions did defy all logic. And it was like, oh no, that was a stupid decision, but that I can sort of take that in the realm of like cheesy horror movie. That episode was fine. Then it was Ball. Now Ball, I very much liked all the way up to the very last minute of the episode, because that didn't make any sense. like why didn't they just leave it with like she did the spell and didn't realise that she'd actually summoned Baal, and he like came to her in the asylum. Why did she have to do the second conjuring? That didn't make really sort of any sense. He's already been conjured. She should already have like the direct access to him. Like if we're gonna like look at this from the way that we've established these rules throughout the 10 or so seasons of American Horror Story, if we look at like Coven and Apocalypse, like she summoned him, he should be sort of under her power. She shouldn't have to like like fully perform the ritual over and over, because she did it correctly the first time, and he should have appeared to her then, but didn't. Because of the shenanigans going on with the terrible husband. So, like, I was really totally into the episode up until that last minute twist, where it's like, I'm going to do it again, and then I'm going to invite you into the bed skull with me to make a demon baby. And yeah, and then have an ambiguous line like, I want you to give me another baby. It's like, well, he didn't get to actually give you the baby the first time. That was something else. And also, I did have the question, they've had IVF. Like, how on earth did you make the IVF fail? That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But on the whole, the episode was pretty good, and it had Billy, and we love Billy. Then it was Feral, which I thought was very, very much like The Hills Have Eyes, but in a forest where things don't quite make sense. Because, like, I can watch The Hills Have Eyes and suspend disbelief long enough to say, okay, the radiation from growing up in these hills has caused these deformations to the Hills of Eye people, and because there's no, like, animals and things that come through, they eat people. It's sort of more a circumstance than actual food choice. I get the implication with the Hills of Eyes. So it's slightly different in the episode Feral, where it's like, we are forest people and we become like the Wheelers from Return to Oz, and we grow a mask of vines, and our jaws like do that because we live in the forest. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Because they don't say like that there was radiation in them there hills, and it's not like it's like, oh, it's decades of inbreeding, decades. That doesn't make somebody into a Wheeler person from Return to Oz. That's just very strange. So I didn't rate that episode particularly highly. And Cody Fern apparently is actually Australian. And, like, I think somebody needs to tell him that his Australian accent's not very convincing. And he's Australian. It's very odd. It's so odd. We spent the first 5 minutes, like, going, what's wrong with his voice? Why is he Australian? Why? And apparently, Cody Fern hates acting in his natural speaking voice. And all of his castmates were taking the mick out of him because he sounded ridiculous. So I'm just like, why did the park ranger need to be Australian? Why? Those are the questions that I have for Ryan Murphy in regards to this episode. It was, it was derivative, and it's pretty much all I've got to say on the matter. And then Game Over. Game Over was stupid. Literally the worst episode of American Horror Story ever. Like, it was meta, but in a way that didn't make any sense. Using the whole, like, this takes place in a world where American Horror Story is a TV show, and we're going to make a video game based on the TV show, but then the first episodes of this season are going to feature within the game, and then the video game woman who made the game is going to go to Murder House and die in it, and then her son's going to be like, why did you do that? So are they saying that the real house, like, that's in California is actually a real murder house, and that this entire season has taken place within the real world and not within the universe of American Horror Story? Because if that's true, then I have a lot of questions about how Dylan McDermott could actually be within the TV show and real life version of Murder House. I did not enjoy this episode. I did not at all. I would like to discount this from the canon. Thank you very much. So, overall, I felt that the last episode spoiled the first two, in a way, because it sort of made no sense, but the separate episodes, the individual ones. I thought that Bal was the best, with Naughty List being the second best, and then I don't want to say that either Drive-In or Feral were good, because they were not. And so overall, on 100% like Rotten Tomatoes rating system, I give the season a 27.